Welcome to the podcast, Kill Complacency. Here we inspire intentional living by motivating others to handle hard better. And here's your host, Marty Hofmann.
Hey, I've got AJ Smith on our podcast today. Really enjoyed this podcast. He really makes it seem so simple as far as doing the impossible things by having habits and tracking those habits and having accountability with those habits. Keziah, what were some of your takeaways from this?
Yeah, it was just super inspiring to hear how intentional he is with everything he does, and how even when he makes a habit of something and accomplishes his goal, he keeps doing it after he accomplishes the goal.
He's really used his habits. You know, he did 75 hard. He talks about that, but he used that to leverage into setting himself up financially and having some financial goals. And it's really neat to see just how that all came about. So hope you listen. This is going to be a two-part podcast. We'll catch the end of it here in a couple days, but good stuff. Hope you enjoy. So today I've got AJ Smith with us. AJ's cool because he's from Iowa, which is where I grew up. And lots of opportunity. What is the motto there? Fields of opportunity or something like that?
Oh, what is it? Fields of Dreams? Is that
something?
Yeah,
something.
The baseball movie.
Yeah, the movie. Yeah, but isn't the motto on the state sign Fields of Opportunity?
Oh gosh, it might be. I'll have to look that one up.
Maybe it changed.
Yeah.
Anyway, AJ is super intentional. Lots of areas of his life. He's also a real estate investor, which I love. And but AJ, I mean, I kind of want to hear. I mean, you talked in your message. You mentioned that you saved and saved and saved as a kid until you were 20 and you could invest. So what motivated that? What were you like at 15, 16, 17 years old?
Yeah. I'll take it back even further if that's all right. So
Sure.
What I was just reminded of this story. Someone asked on LinkedIn, because I was talking about sales. And I was talking about how so much in business is sales. And I was asked, what's your first recollection of selling something?
Mm-hmm.
And it took me back to, I think it was third grade or fourth grade. I lived in Seattle, Washington, just south of Seattle, in a town called Des Moines. I was going to elementary school, and I remember I got a gift from my mom. It was this like 3-foot long gummy worm. And I could not eat a 3-foot long gummy worm myself. Okay, I'll take that back. I could. Back then I could. But
how thick is it?
It was probably about this thick around. And it was 3 feet long, and
Wow.
It was a lot of candy. And so in that class, we had something called Cougar Cash. And Cougar Cash was an invention of our teacher who went to Washington State University, go Cougars.
Yeah.
And she created this currency that she would give, the students if they did well on a test, if they were well behaved, if they said something insightful. And so, there was this kind of currency floating around. So I took this gummy worm to class and I cut it into little inch pieces and I started selling it for Cougar Cash to my friends. And I bring that up because, as a kid, we bounced around a few different houses. We had a house fire a couple times as a kid. We lived in various hotels and we had support from family members and stuff. And we never really had a ton. I wasn't someone that grew up with, seeing fancy cars or really nice food. Yeah. We would have like hot dogs and mac and cheese, and tuna noodles is one of our favorite meals. So, I didn't have much as a child in terms of material possessions. And so what I did have, I just saved because I was also, pretty happy just not having that much. It's just me, my brother, my mom, my dad. And so I didn't have a huge need to go out and have super fancy vacations or buy really nice stuff. And so I think that's where the saver mentality started, was just, being content with what you have. And then there came along an opportunity when I was in high school to start investing in the stock market and learning about that. And then I learned about real estate in college. And so I put that into something in the future once I learned what to put it into. But at the beginning, I was just working jobs and saving money because that's all I knew what to do with it.
So tell me about learning about real estate in college. How did that happen? Was it a class or a professor or?
Yeah.
Book or
It started in high school, not specifically real estate. We actually had a stock market simulation where we traded paper money in this personal finance class in high school. And I thought that was so cool. Like, this was one of my favorite classes. And I always liked school, but I really liked this class. And so I was learning about, like, okay, you've got blue chip stocks, cyclical, counter cyclical stocks, and it all just kind of, I started to learn about it. So once I got hooked on that and we did the simulation and it was a lot of fun, I started to read more into just investments. Like, what are some things that you can do with your cash? So I learned about Roth IRAs and I learned about 401ks. And in college, going into my, freshman year of college, going into that summer before that, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which I think everyone, a ton of people know about, Robert Kiyosaki. But that first gave me that first glimpse into real estate investing. And that's what put me on that path. And there's a lot of other books after that. I probably read, 7 or 8 books in college from Bigger Pockets and some other publishers just to learn some more. But that's where that started.
What year did you go to college?
Yeah, so it started in 2017. That's when I graduated high school and then went to college and did 4 years and graduated in 2021.
So I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad probably about 2017 to 2017, 2018. And nice. I kind of went on this Robert Kiyosaki kick for a little bit where any of his books, Second Chances, Why A students work for C students, all his books. I went through all those real quick because I just ate it up. And for me, it's real estate, but I think it's mindset too, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think the vast majority of it is mindset. I don't think there's a lot of real estate content in there in terms of strategy or tactics. Yeah. It's mostly thoughts about, what is the mindset you need to get into the space. But I think that mindset work was extremely powerful because it changes the way you think about money. It changes the way you think about investments. So I really enjoyed that book.
Yeah. What are your latest things at 75 Hard? Tell us about that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is, I really enjoy 75 Hard. And the reason why I got into it is I was working at my W-2 job previously. And I was noticing, I was getting bigger. I was getting kind of, what do you call it?
Bigger as in fat?
Yeah. Just more weight and not taller. That would be cool. But I was just noticing, I was gaining weight. I was feeling really lethargic. My energy levels were down. My, happiness levels were suffering. And I needed something to just challenge me and take it from being the mundane day to day to, okay, this is my structure for the day. And this is something that will give me something to simultaneously look forward to and, work toward. And so I started that in 2022, I think it was like August of 2022. So it's been almost 2 years now that I've been doing it. And, I'm not sure how familiar your audience is.
My daughter did it in January. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What'd she think?
A little bit familiar. Well, she got ripped like 8 days in when she forgot to take a picture. And she had to start over. She didn't make that mistake twice.
Yes, you learned.
But she, and it's, the progress picture is cool because you get to see the difference. She has a really good mindset already with self-discipline and learning and all that. So a lot of it was just the consistency that 75 Hard really creates in their culture was really, really good.
Yeah. I think the cultural part of it is huge. The habit forming part of it is really cool. And I started using this app called Habit Share once I was starting 75 Hard because there's a point, I think it's phase 1, which I'm in again right now, where you have a list of critical power tasks. And so it's a list of, several things that you do throughout the day that are extremely important to push your business forward, to hit whatever life goals you have. And so phase one only lasts like 30 days. And then you have a break in between another phase. But the thing I learned of 75 Hard is in all of the break times, it's much easier because you're not checking the box. It's much easier to just regress to where you were because it's like the accountability isn't there anymore. It's just, are you holding yourself accountable? And so I started using the Habit Share app first to just track the 75 hard habits, but then to start doing the power tasks, and I would add to it each day. So now that's how I track, okay, am I hitting my KPIs for my business, my key performance indicators? Am I doing the most important tasks like sending offers, contacting brokers? And am I doing that on a daily basis? So creating that structure within 75 Hard, I think, was the biggest takeaway for me because it creates those habits that create the results over a sustained period of time.
So for you, it became much more than just an exercise program, because a lot of people do it to lose some weight and get fit.
Yes.
But you kind of took it to a new level with creating other habits that would help your business life.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it starts there. I think it starts with the fitness part because people see the before and after pictures, and that's the most visible representation of what's going on in that person's life. But then you have the subsurface items, the items like what habits are you doing on a daily basis in terms of diet, in terms of exercise, like you can see those. But there are some other stuff that you might not see, like reading 10 pages a day or more, creating other habits in your business, doing meditation, dedicated visualization. Like you can't see that stuff, but that has a great impact on how that person operates and goes through the world on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. AJ, have you read the book Compound Effect by
is that Darren Hardy?
Darren Hardy, yeah.
Yes, I love that book. I read that in college. It was awesome.
So he's got that illustration there of 3 guys. One guy doesn't do anything different. One guy drinks a beer a night, and one guy, I'm going to say, does 75 hard. It's not what he does, but I think he reads a few pages of books and starts eating real food. And he talks in there about the compound effect. You don't see it in a month or 6 months, but in a year or 3 years, one guy's divorced, one guy's fit, and one guy is 20 pounds overweight.
Right. It's the small stuff.
It's the small stuff, and I think that's why it's exactly what you said, where you see it in the pictures, but you can't see your mindset shifting in 45 days from reading, 6 books.
Yeah.
But
you can't see it externally. That's definitely true. And like, I don't think other people can see it, but I think a lot of times, I'll say after my first wave of 75 hard, I felt it. I was like, okay, I feel a little different. I can see some of the habits. But like I said, without that accountability, I regressed several times in the breaks, and I noticed that. And I noticed too, I think that's part of the challenge is you start to see, okay, if you fall out of that structure, if you're like, okay, I'm just going to have one Oreo. I love Oreos, by the way. I'm just going to have one Oreo, right? And then you're like, okay, well, 1 becomes 2. 2 becomes, for me, the whole pack after, a day. But, I would do that in the breaks, and I would recognize it, and I would see like, why am I going backwards? Oh, well, it's because I just am not doing what I need to be doing on a daily basis. And so I think for me, having that realization, but also just like seeing the counter results, if you will, right? Like this is what happens when you do it. This is what happens when you don't do it. And I think having that contrast in the breaks was very powerful for me. And that's why now when I'm doing 75 hard, I don't do the breaks anymore. I just redo the program in the middle so that I'm always on program, because it makes it like, if I don't have that, it's very easy for me to just be like, I'm in the break time. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah. Tell me about Habit Share. That's just an app?
Yeah,
it's an
fantastic.
app, and you put in your habits, and does it get accountability with somebody else, or is it just for you?
That's my favorite part. Yep. So you can share it with whoever you want. I share it with my mom just to share, like, this is what I'm working on. I have some business associates I share it with too. But you can input the habits that you want to track, and then you just fill in the circle. Okay, green circle, you tap the circle on your app. Green circle if I did it, red circle if I didn't. And then it holds you accountable amongst your friends, but also amongst yourself, because you're using the streak. There's a streak feature that shows you like, okay, you've done this for 100 days straight. You don't want to lose that 100-day streak because there's a certain level of something there. But just seeing it, I think, holds you accountable of, oh, wow, I have done this for 2 days in a row. Why not 3? Why not 4?
Yeah. I agree 100%. I have a Garmin watch, and I set my daily step goal at 11,000.
Nice.
And I did it. I got 101 days in a row.
Yeah.
And my goal was 100.
Yeah.
And day 102, like I came home at like 6 o'clock and I had like 4,000 steps or something. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to let it go.
Yeah. Yeah.
I so regret it.
I was going to say, how did that feel?
Yeah, because I gave up on it and I didn't care. And the next day I hit the goal. And then the next day I was complacent and I said, I'm not going to do it again. But after that, I'm at a day 162 following that streak, and I'm not going to let it, like, it's my identity now.
Yes, exactly. You've added it into your daily habits and your daily, this is who I am. This is what
this is who I am. Yeah.
Right.
If I have 2,000 steps at 6 o'clock at night, we might have to go run because we're going to get the steps.
Yeah. I got home after a movie a couple days ago and it was like, I don't know, it was like 9 o'clock after the movie and I hadn't gotten my outside workout in and I'm like, oh, man. But we did it because that's what you do. Yeah, and you mentioned something I think that's super important is like you have to have that feeling, I think, of, man, I regret letting that go.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think without that, if it's just I think people maybe won't have that same level of motivation if you get there and you just, kind of, I did it, I'm done, whatever.
Yeah. Check.
But if you do it and then you realize like, wow, okay, my life was pretty good when I was doing this and I'd like it to be like that again. I think there's a different level of motivation there because you've seen what it is when you don't do it.
And for me too, it kind of goes back to your habit share app. It has to be easy to track. So if I had to Roman numeral count all my steps throughout the day, I would not care.
No.
But because it does it automatically and I can just check in on it, see how we're doing. That's, I think, another key part to this intentional living is how do you make habits as easy as they can be?
Yeah.
So that they do become your lifestyle.
Yes. Yeah. And I think apps help tremendously with that. I really like 75 Hard for that reason, because it comes with an app. You can buy an app for that for pretty cheap. And then Habit Share, of course, is free, which I always recommend. I bring it up at conferences and stuff if people talk about habits, because it's a free app. You can share it with your friends. You can use it to hold yourself accountable. So I really enjoy it.
So I recently joined Brandon Turner's Better Life Tribe.
Nice.
But specifically for the accountability.
Yeah.
And right before getting on with you, I was actually on a weekly accountability, and we have to score ourselves. We have habits, and you have to say, you know what, I did this 6 days out of 7.
Yeah.
And so, and we actually give ourselves a score out of 100, and then we write commitments down for next week, and those are our things that we'll get scored on next week. But it's the accountability of the group that we're doing. It's what helps you do it.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And when I was working for Aldi, the grocery store, I was a district manager for them for a couple of years out of college. And one of the things that we did there was a very similar thing. We would have these weekly district meetings where folks would share their wins. They would share the things that they're, working toward. And then, like you mentioned, we would report our progress toward a certain goal. Mm. And the folks who, sometimes it was verbal, but there was actually a leaderboard that everyone could see, and they could see, okay, now store 11 is doing a certain amount, store 17 is doing this amount.
Wow.
Oh man, we got to get there. So I think that kind of accountability with the scoreboard and the weekly check-in, like you had mentioned, is fantastic.
So AJ, tell me about working for Aldi's, because you were a district manager, and I've been to Aldi's, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 times. But they're super system oriented, aren't they?
Yes, it's a German company. So It's very efficient. It's very systems based. And there's a lot of innovation, I would say, in terms of, cost savings, in terms of organizational structure, in terms of decentralized, I call it decentralized command. Just, people making decisions on the ground instead of calling up to someone else and asking, can we do this? I think there's a lot of innovation in that area, and there's a lot of progress that they've made.
I've never seen more than 2 employees in those stores. Is that normal?
It's incredible. Yeah. I mean, if you compare Aldi to Walmart to Target, some of these other stores, the efficiency with which these stores run in terms of man hours, especially now they've implemented automated checkout. It's not the only thing that's there. They also have a cashier, but that allows, self-checkout, people to get in, get out without someone else helping them at the line. It's reduced the line times, and it also creates an ability for them to put people in other areas of the store to keep it well stocked, well maintained. So I think there's a lot of innovation in that area, and a lot of, like I mentioned, progress and efficiency. So they're doing a great job.
Tell me if I'm wrong on this, though, but they track everything, right? And kind of going back to what we talked about earlier, because everything is tracked, even the cashier has to ring things up so fast.
Yeah,
right.
You're right about that.
That's a score. That's a score.
Yes. Yeah. So what's really interesting about their training process is they start the district managers as cashiers. So, the district managers come in, they learn how to cashier, they learn how to stock shelves, and then they learn how to run a store for, 3 months or 6 months or whatever that is. And then they have a district. And what that does is that allows them to understand each person's role within the store, assistant manager, store manager, cashier, whatever. They understand the people that they're managing. So it helps with, they're more able to empathize with the people that they're managing, but it also gives them a perspective as to this is how long this thing should take, right? Like these are the things that we should be focusing on to improve efficiency at various stores. Because you're familiar with curbside pickup, you're familiar with cashiering or stocking shelves.
Facebook, LinkedIn.
So something else
Instagram,
about all these
YouTube.
is the barcodes, right? They're
We are
huge.
really trying to
Not only that,
people
they're
live
all
more
over the
intentional
boxes.
lives
Like
to
I don't know if
all
you
over
noticed
the
this,
places.
but
you can grab it and
with
you can
which
scan it
they
anyway.
have
Boom.
subscribed to.
No
There's
excuses
many
for the cashier, right?
ways to
Right.
time.
Yeah,
You
so
gotta
you're just
be-
whipping things into the, and
If this is beneficial, follow me
I
there.
remember
Spread the
when I was
message,
there, we
share.
had
And
some
if you
assistant managers or
want to
just
wear
really
a
good
billboard
cashiers go to different stores
of a
and teach
message
people
of
how
kill
to be
complacency
fast.
or live intentionally,
Yeah.
then
And
check
I don't
out
think
my
you see
merch
that at
store
other grocery
in
stores.
show
I think
notes
that's
as
pretty
well.
unique.
But it's
Yeah.
www.mindsetshop.com. Mindset is with an X, so it's MINDXET shop, SHOP.com. Mindsetshop.com. Check it out. Thank you guys so much, and have a great one.
Thank you for listening to Kill Complacency. Follow and share our podcast to change lives and inspire growth.